Hello, Fredak here. Hello, Fredak. Fred, ACC, all one word. Alrighty, it is July the 3rd, Thursday. It's about 8 p.m. East Coast time. It's going to be getting dark out any moment. Fredak's got notes. First up, I want to thank you all for being here today. Hopefully you had a wonderful day. Once again, these are just the ideas that are swirling around in Fredak's head. We're going to cover a bunch of different topics. Real estate, Ripple, XRP, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. As I've said many times, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. So, with all that being said, let's dive right into all of this. Fredak's got notes. Notes, I tell you. Now, I understand that a lot of what Fredak spews gets a little bit redundant. I try to keep it from being that way. I also try to get to the point. I'm not trying to stretch this out. Haven't made a penny from any of this. I'm not in it for the pennies. I'm in it for the XRP to surge. But I keep an open mind. And I don't just tell you what you want to hear on here. I tell you what I think. Like it or not, you can find plenty of people on YouTube that'll tell you just what you want to hear. Okay, let's get into all this. As we start out with, as always, it's the scammers. There are tons of scammers out there. The scammers are out in mass trying to get you to tap on that button to do this, to do that. I'd be very cautious about doing anything. I predate the beeper. I don't trust much of anything. I'm a New York City kid. My trust level is kind of minimal. I question everything. Okay, so when it comes to the scammers, be careful. Remember the axiom from your mom or grandmom: if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. I see so much BS on YouTube. These little blips, you can hit the lottery, you can do this, you can do that, you can just 3 minutes a day, you'll make tons of money with the stock. Everybody's got a gimmick. The reality is, if they were able to do this gimmick, they'd be doing it themselves. They would not be selling it to you and me. Part of the reason why I share what I share with you guys is because it doesn't affect me at all. Like with XRP, it is huge. It's outside my grasp. If every single one of you stepped in and bought 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 XRP, I don't think you'd budge the price at all. There's billions of them out there. Billions and billions. And we're going to get into some of that billions in a moment. Alrighty, so let's take a look at all this. If people have some kind of get-rich-quick scheme, I can tell you this much. If you want to have the winner of the 4th race at Saratoga tomorrow, bet all the horses. Somehow, some way, someone will hit the finish line first, and you can say, look, I had it. Otherwise, you got to do your homework. There's some company out there, Linqto, Linqto, something like that. They're selling pre-IPO Ripple shares, or they were, or something. Once again, I always tell everybody on here, you got to double check Fredak and everybody. You got to double check everybody out there. Do your homework. You got to do your homework. This Linqto company, I don't know. It's dangerous. But hello, one thing that you can listen to is Fredak. Alrighty, so we've got the big beautiful bill. I don't know much about the big beautiful bill. I just know that there's always a twist put on everything. Over the years, everybody's selling some big beautiful bill. And the bottom line is that who ends up holding the bag? The Fredaks of the world, you and me, the 9-to-5ers. That's how it all works. I got written down here, rate cut. Alrighty, let's think about this realistically. If the government's going to be doing rate cuts, the U.S. government, they're going to cut the interest rates, which means they're opening up the water faucets and giving out money to people to borrow at a cheap rate. Do you think that that means the economy is doing well when they're considering a rate cut? Or do you think the economy, they're foreseeing negativity in the economy coming down the road? It's because they see negativity coming down the road. They're not opening up the floodgates for no reason. They're opening up the floodgates to try to stave off problems. That's how it works. So if there's potential rate cuts coming in the near future, the economy is heading in the wrong direction. Okay. Understanding this. How does the big money make money? Hello! They make it from you and me. Comes to real estate, what's coming in the near future? Hello, everybody has their ideas about it, and I have mine. I've posted them on here. I'm thinking that we're heading for a tremendous recession coming. I don't know if there's that much how you can print your way out of it. The U.S. government is boxed into a very difficult corner. Tremendous debt, and they've grown accustomed to having more and more debt to keep the punch bowl juiced. Yet, it's time to pay the piper. All right, what do we got over here? Now I think most people are getting on board with the thought that real estate prices are dropping. The speculative boom and bust is heading towards bust. It's part of the cycle that happens. It repeats itself over and over and over and over and over the years, and it's repeating itself again. Well, I use a lot of analogies to get what's inside my head over to your head. The question becomes, could it become worse than what many of the talking heads are starting to speak about? It seems like everybody's getting on board with the thought that the speculative bubble is bursting. But could it get a lot worse? Well, I'm glad you asked. Of course it could get a lot worse. How could it get a lot worse? Well, let's think about it. They're talking about, a 4%, a 6%, a 10% drop in home value prices. Okay, maybe a 20% drop in home value prices. Okay. Is there any guarantee that it couldn't be a 30 or 40% drop in home value prices? Absolutely it could. Of course it could. How could that happen? I'm glad you asked. Well, if you think about it, the people that became the speculators, or the speculators that came to the table late to the party, or they were caught up in it, they made some money here, made some money there, on this deal, on this deal, on this deal, and then they stepped up and they bought that $800,000 house. They put down $200,000, got a $600,000 mortgage at a very good price. That's fantastic. So after they own it, they put it for sale for $950. Now remember this, anything below $800 or whatever the purchase price was, that person starts to lose their own capital dollar for dollar, everything below that. And at a certain point, if you buy something for $800,000 and you only put down $40,000, if it drops below, let's say, $730,000 in value, $700,000, you might just say, here's the keys, Bank of America, it's all yours, you can own it now. I don't want nothing to do with it, you walk away from it. But the person who put down $200,000 on that $800,000 purchase, they're kind of stuck with it until like $720,000, $700,000, $680,000, $650,000. They're still recouping some of their capital. Those are the people that get burned. They get burned bad. And I hope that you're not one of those people getting burned. Another analogy I'm going to use here. Hello? Think about it. It's like a controlled burn. You have this large farm area, 10 acres. And all around and out in the back there, you've got stuff growing that you got to get rid of. So you're like, let me start a controlled burn over in this area here. So you're only looking to burn the weeds and shrubbery that are over here. But the wind shifts and it gets out of control. And the next thing you know, your barn is burning. If it jumps over to your house, then your house is burning to the ground. The controlled burn didn't work out all that well. Well, that same thing can apply to the real estate market. Sure, it's like, yeah, we need kind of a boom and bust, a little bit of a washout, bring things back down into reality. But a lot of times it goes a little further than reality. And I'm not sure if the government's in a position to just print, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, $15 trillion and just flood the market with $100 bills like they've done in the past many times. Hello, not a good thing. And don't let these things surprise you, because they could happen. That's why I say, how bad will real estate get? It could get a whole lot worse. Okay, shifting gears over to my XRP, the thing that's going to make us all rich. I try to keep a very open mind out there about what's available out there. I came across this ETF, Exchange Traded Fund. The symbol is XXRP. It seems like it does move quite a bit more than the price of XRP. And I dabbled into it, bought a little bit of it on a surge up. I think I'm going to get out of it. Started doing some homework. The more information that I have, I will share with you guys. So this fund, it looks like it's out of the Cayman Islands, but you absolutely double check what Fred Act tells you. And it looks like the management fee is 1.89. It's a little bit high, so it's probably not something that you want to be sitting in long term. Still, with all that being said, it's possibly a vehicle to consider if and when XRP is on a surge to the upside for a short-term day trade. It can move $2, $3, $4, $5 within one day. It only trades between 9:30 and 4 p.m. East Coast time, as per the stock market trading hours. There's a pre-market to it, there's an aftermarket to it, but there's a whole different game within a game to playing those, and I'm going to try to elaborate on those things in the near future about how to play the pre-market, how to play the aftermarket. They're very, very tough to deal with because you don't have the volume. I've often said it many times on here, volume is your best friend. It's all about the volume. Alrighty, let's see what we got on the notes over here. The question I have is, why does no one else look at anything else on here? And I watch some of the crypto Johnnies and this crypto shark and that all the talking heads that know everything. I tune into them a little bit here each day. I don't see anybody looking outside the box. Well, hello! Why does no one else look at anything else? I'm glad you asked, because they are all talking up their own agendas. None of them have any interest in seeing what's going on out there. They're not even open-minded to what's going on around them. When I looked at this ETF, XXRP, I realized like 2 weeks ago, it only started in April, when XRP, the token, surged up to $2.50. This thing ran up to $41 from $2 and from about $25. When it was on a dip down and started to turn upwards, I went in and bought some the other day in my IRA. Not a lot of it, 350 of them. Bought it at $23.66. Had the opportunity, if I was watching it, to just get out at like $31 a couple of days ago. The next surge up, I probably will come to the sidelines, and I'll play it in and out a few different times. But I would have to kind of think that it is quite possible that if there wasn't such an excessive management fee involved, this XXRP long-term could be a very, very profitable thing. I would possibly consider starting to shift my assets over into XXRP rather than owning XRP. Something to think about. Still, I'm very stable with my XRP. I do think the rails are in place and things are going to start to happen to the upside. Okay. Something that I've mentioned on here, which is probably what many of you don't want to hear about. Why is XRP, why is the parent company Ripple doesn't seem to be really pushing the price of it? And I can't figure that out. And I probably can't. There's probably other things behind the scenes. The one thing that I can figure out is that the people who run Ripple, the Brad Garlinghouse, the Steve Schwartz, is that his name? Whoever runs the company, the whole team there, they're sharp people. They know what they're doing. A concern that I had on one of my recent postings was that if they become too dominant with Hidden Road and too much other stuff, the same way the Department of Justice will stop Burger King from merging with McDonald's because it's not good for competition, the DOJ, they will stop Ripple in its tracks if they start to deem that they're too controlling and they're on top of everything. They're the conduit for everything and everybody. Okay, fair enough. That was a thought that I had. But now I'm taking a different viewpoint on it. And I try to bring you things that you don't get from all the other talking heads. That's what Fred Act's all about. And I'm going to look more into this XRP ETF. I like the fact that it is guaranteed that you get best price bidding, offering, or just buying at the market. Why Ripple is not pursuing a higher price? I'm glad you asked. Hello! Because they're not stupid people. Maybe, just maybe, the Ripple company people are thinking, if we move this along too quickly, it opens up the avenues for too much competition. Then it would be hard for us to purchase all these different key ingredients that we need to bake the cake. Meaning to control, not control, but partly control, to provide global money movement in the financial system. Think about that. If somebody comes to buy the boat that you're selling, and the boat is whatever, a Boston Whale or 18-foot Boston Whaler, and they go for about $9,000, and some guy pulls up and he's got a Lamborghini, he might not be very negotiable on the price, let's just say. Whereas if you show up with like some beat up jalopy like the jalopy that I have, the person might say, this guy's dead broke. I got to work with this guy a little bit if I want to get rid of the boat. So could that be possibly in play for the Ripple company? Could the Ripple people be smart enough to be thinking, we got to keep this low key while we pick up all the monopoly pieces that we need to run the whole show somewhat on the cheap? Because once the cat is out of the bag, well, then it's game over. Everybody's going to want Muko bucks for everything. Think about any comments you might have. Leave them down below. You think Fred Act might be onto something here? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just delusional. Trying to get caught up in my own hopium for XRP. But I'm like, it just doesn't seem like they really go out of their way to try to promote the price of this thing. And if they have billions and billions of these and a whole bunch in escrow, it also seems like in the last 48 hours, there's been larger amounts of XRP that have been trading through on the exchanges. I see 80 millions, 90 millions going through per minute in some spots, some spikes. There are some deals going on out there. With it being unregulated, who knows what's going on behind the scenes with Ripple and the amount they have in escrow. They might be wheeling and dealing 200-300 million deals with BlackRock, this or that. I guess you wouldn't want everybody out in the public to know about all that, especially if it was at like $1.40. When we're out there buying it at $2.25. But certainly a whole lot to think about. Okay. Well, we've gone through most of our notes from a little piece of paper. That's a good thing for you guys, I guess. These are the kind of things that make me wonder. A lot of things make me wonder. But I am going to report back on XRP in the next day or two, a little more homework on XRP. And as there's going to be other ETFs that come along, the XRP is supposedly a 2X, supposed to move twice the movement of XRP. But if XRP moves 30 cents, it seems like this thing moves like, I don't know, $5, $6. So that's a pretty decent move. Yes, it's priced at, I don't know, what is it at? $28, $27 and change, $27.10 right now, something like that. All interesting stuff to know about. So I've started to wonder, maybe the Ripple people are a lot smarter than I thought, and they had their reasons for keeping this price down a little bit, because they don't seem very motivated to push the price up. No, doesn't seem that way. Alrighty, well, I want to thank you all for being here. Hopefully I've added a little bit of a nugget of knowledge. If it's garbage in, garbage out, like I've always said many times. If you derive a little nugget from this, and another warning to all of you, if you listen to all these talking heads on XRP and all the other cryptos, the tendency is to wear you on down. I'm kind of getting tired of hearing the same people with the same blabber. Well, this is going to 20, this is going to go to 200, this is going to go to 2,000 by the end of Christmas, or by the end of this, or by the end of that. It always just seems like it's another couple of days ahead, another week or two away, or something like that. What was it? Tomorrow, tomorrow, it's always a day away. But it'll wear you down. Don't get worn down. Sit tight, because if XRP goes to $87, $187, $1,087, you'll say, wow, good thing I hung on to some of it. And always hang on to some of it. I did post on here how to scale out of some of these things if it runs. If when, I think it's only a question of when. The rails are in place. Ripple's just piecing together all the monopoly pieces. They're getting Marvin's Garden, Ventnor, Park Place, Broadway. They're scooping them all up. Not that hard to see all of that. Alrighty, may all your days be winning ones.